Authors Press.
Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. And on the line with us today, we have Barbara McGargle. We'll be discussing her fantastic children's narrative, A Dreamer's Wish. And I will say, Barbara was brought to our network, People of Distinction, today by some of the best movers in the business, Authors Press Publishing. So if you have a book that you'd like moved, well, do yourself a favor and contact Authors Press. You can find out more information on them at authorspress.com. And guys, listen, it is an absolute pleasure to have Barbara here on the line. Her book, as I stated, is a children's narrative. It's called A Dreamer's Wish. Now, I am looking forward to this because I don't have any kids of my own yet. Now, hopefully, fingers crossed, in the very near future. But I come from a very big family and we're filled with kids. So I have a lot of nieces and nephews that I know would truly enjoy a book of this magnitude. But also, I remember growing up and having a lot of similar issues, right? Dealing with adversity, dealing with family members, dealing with parents, things of that nature, which is very common. And especially me, listen, I grew up, I have 5 older brothers, okay? Very, very big family. And adversity was something, especially being the youngest, was kind of something I always had to deal with. But the underlying message of the book is really expressing the importance of dreaming and understanding that things aren't always going to go the way you wanted it to go. Now, I love that message really across the board for anybody, any age, but specifically for children, because the amount of benefit and the importance of understanding that notion at a very early age is only going to set you up for success. And I'm so excited that we have Barbara here on the line because, listen, she's the expert. Okay, she's written the book, she's done the research, she's going to be able to articulate all of the nuances much better than I ever could. So without further ado, sit back, strap in, and let's get ready for a fantastic ride. Barbara, first and foremost, welcome to People of Distinction. Thank you for being a guest. How are you?
I'm fine, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, listen, we're very much looking forward to this, okay? And we're very much looking forward to picking your brain, learning a little bit more about you, but as well as your fantastic book. And I know we have so much information to cover, but before we jump into the book, let's hold off slightly. Barbara, start by articulating to our listening audience a little bit more about yourself, please.
Well, I'm a grandmother, a great-grandmother. I'm owner of a business. I have a landscape company, which I love dearly. I've always liked to make things pretty and make things better for others. I lived on a ranch for several years and took care of a ranch, planted, combined, dug, all that sort of stuff. And it gave me a love for the earth and a love for the things that the Lord has provided for us. I just always thought about children. I've always thought about the way they think and the things that they do, and being older and having gone through the things that they go through when they're little, it's given me a sense of wanting them to know that things aren't always what they think they are. And just because they want to do something different doesn't mean it's going to be accomplished the way they think it is.
Thank you very much for articulating that, Barbara. Listen, without further ado, A Dreamer's Wish. Tell us a little bit more about your book.
This is to help children understand that times aren't always roses and candy. There's times when they'll be upset with parents or siblings, and they want to be somewhere else or do something else. In their minds, they imagine a better and simpler life, but they don't realize that there are always complications and consequences, and things don't always turn out the way they wish it would. And I've dedicated this book to my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren, because my great-grandchildren at the age where they're at this point where they can get mad at their parents and wish other things.
Barbara, so thank you very much for articulating that. And as I stated, I think this is a book that has so much value for any age, but of course, specifically for children, because of course, the earlier you start them, the better and more prepared they're going to be. Now, let's go into the concept of inspiration. What inspired you? It's a multi-part question, but first and foremost, let's start with what inspired you to write this narrative? I know you said you dedicated it to family members, but was that what was really the impetus and really kind of spurring you in this direction, or what inspired you to write this narrative?
The actions of my grandchildren and some of the things that they have done. Parents and children often have differences of opinion, and sometimes it takes an adventure, thought, or even a dream to help a child realize that a moment's disappointment will soon disappear, and the feelings of a restless soul can often settle itself given time. They don't realize that what they're going through is going to pass, and they have to allow that to pass, and they have to use that situation as inspiration for the next moment they have a problem like this, on how to settle it and how to work through it.
Now, second part to that question, specifically, as I stated, since this can be a concept and an idea that is applied to multiple age groups, you specifically put this in a children's narrative. Why was it important for you to focus on that age group?
Because that's the age group where children are being formative. That's the age group where you teach your children about life and how to be and the responsibilities of choices they make. If they don't learn it when they're little, when they're older, they're just going to have one heck of a time in life. They need to know that things always don't happen the way they want them to. They need to know that what they go through in life is a learning process. They have to use every opportunity as a stepping stone and not a stumbling block. Every time you have a situation and it affords you time to think about what's happening, you need to be positive about that situation. You can't let it bring you down. You can't let it disappoint you. You can't let it end your love of life and the mysteries of the world.
Very, very well put. Thank you very much for articulating that. You know, the big thing that I was thinking when I was doing research on your book and preparing for this interview, I don't remember exactly who said the quote, and I may be paraphrasing a bit, but it reminded me of course, that old adage everybody's heard of, the grass is greener on the other side, right? We've heard that, and I remember years ago hearing a reflection on that quote where someone said, you know, the original quote, the grass is greener on the other side, and then somebody retorted and said, no, the grass is greener where you water it. And that always stuck with me, and I thought it was such a great retort to that concept, because I think that is so universal, where we always, even now as an adult, I remember growing up and being, you know, my late teens, early 20s, and even in my 30s, where there were moments where you would see somebody else that had something or achieved something that maybe you wanted, and you were always looking in an envious way. And I say you, meaning a generalized you, of course, not you. But you'd kind of look at it and you would compare. And I know I've done it. I'm sure so many people have as well. And when I heard that line, it really resonated with me, because at the end of the day, there's always going to be, your mind plays tricks. And you always think that somebody else or something else may be better than what is in front of you or what is at your table. And at the end of the day, a lot of times, it's not the case. You can better your situation. It may not be exactly what you're wanting, but just because it isn't doesn't mean you give up and you move towards something else. No, you stay right there in the thick of it and you push through and you continue to, like grass, you water it, right? You nurture it and you build whatever it is that you're looking for into fruition. And that is exactly where I think your book is going to, right? Where you have these dreams, but you don't just abandon them because you come across some adversity. No, you stick there, you continue to fight through it. And I think that that's a fantastic message. You know, Barbara, I'm curious, what would you say was a highlight for you in writing this book? Or if not a highlight, you know, maybe something that surprised you that you weren't expecting prior to embarking upon the journey.
Oh, gosh. Well, I've always been, I've had a rough life, and I've always wanted a better life. And I know that I could never have a better life if I didn't do it myself. That's why I became a landscaper, because I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to take an area that looked like, a cow pasture and turn it into something beautiful. And I've accomplished that. And I wanted to do that with my grandchildren. It was past my children's stage, but I thought if I could get them to understand that they can take what they've been given in life and make something beautiful out of it. They can create whatever they want to create. I became an artist also. I paint portraits and flowers, and it was something that was inside of me that I never knew I had. So I want the children to explore themselves. I want them to look inside themselves and find the good that the Lord has provided them and make the best of it. Don't want them to just be in a situation where they're angry and everything is wrong and they can't do this and they can't do that. I want them to be able to use their minds and their dreams to create something better, to be a better person for others, and to help others and give others the opportunity to have some good in their life.
Guys, again, here on the line with Barbara McGargle, we're discussing her fantastic book, A Dreamer's Wish. Barbara, as we start to tie up this fantastic interview, we talked a lot about the message behind the book. We talked about the narrative itself. Now, I'm curious, for any parents out there listening in, of course, I'm sure that there are tips suggested within the confines of the book. So guys, as I just stated, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, that's where you have to go. There's no getting around it. If you want to know everything that Barbara has in store, head on over there and pick up your copy of the book. But since we have you here on the line, just to kind of pick your brain a little bit more, Barbara. So we're talking about when children go and experience these moments of adversity, and really how to kind of coach them through or help them through, because of course understanding is where the power lies. Any tips that you can offer parents that are out there listening in that may be going through similar situations with their children and aren't sure how to coach them through it?
The first thing that I would say is keep anger to a minimum. You never want to be angry with your child. You never want to tell your child that he's no good. Compare him to a brother or a sister. Why can't you be like your brother? Why can't you be like your sister? I think you need to look inside that child and try to discover what is inside that child and how to help that child love himself. I think family prayer together helps a lot. It helps children to know that there's a God, there is somebody watching over them. There's somebody to help them through all the adversity, but they have to find it within themselves to be able to create that communication. I think parents need to be able to find a way to communicate with their children, especially when their children start getting to the age where they're facing adversity and they're facing challenges and they're looking for a meaning in their life. I think it's very important for family to try to help the children find that meaning, give them different things to do. When we lived in North Dakota, my children moved from California, and it was very difficult for them to find anything to do in North Dakota. They didn't have the neighbors, they didn't have the Game Boys and all that kind of stuff, and I gave my daughter a basket. She was 11, and I gave her a basket, and I said, every time you go to pick up the mail, bring me something back in the basket. And she kind of looked at me like, hey, all right. But she brought me something back in the basket every time. And then one day, she came back, and I said, there's nothing in the basket. And she said, oh, I forgot to put something in the basket. And then I said, you don't need the basket anymore. Because she found in herself things to do. But you have to find a way to create that desire in children to explore and to find things to do and to look at the good in everything in the world. There's always something good. You just have to look to find it.
You have it. There you have it. Communication and patience. Two very, very important traits that really will serve you in every aspect of your life. But as we stated, and really what we're focusing on right now is the relationship with children. And as you're coaching them and really helping them grow, so important to really make sure that you have those as much as humanly possible. And I know when you're dealing with children, that patience can wear thin sometimes, but got to dig deep, make sure that you have it there. I absolutely love that. Barbara, listen, we've discussed so much today, and it's just so many valuable pieces of information. Is there anything else that we haven't yet discussed that you would like to relate to our listening audience?
Yes. I would like to say that humor is one of the most valuable things that you can have in your life. If you're finding ways to make other people smile and you're finding ways to make other people laugh, you're not thinking about your own problems. You're not thinking about your woes and all the evils that are torturing your mind. If you find ways to give humor to others, there's always ways to make somebody laugh. And I found that from a younger age. I used to always have humorous things to do. I used to always play little tricks on my sister and my friends, and it always produced a lot of laughter. And I've got a couple friends now that all we do when we get together is laugh. And the stress is gone, the anger is gone, the woes of what's going on in the world disappear. And if you do that with your children, no matter what they do, if you find ways to correct them with a little bit of humor sometimes, it helps. And it kind of deters the anger from being told what to do. If you can find ways of doing it with humor, just laugh. Just keep laughter in your life, and in your children's life, and in your friends' lives. And that's a vital part of a relationship.
Barbara, this is such a fantastic book. The only way that I can think of ending such a wonderful interview is really, what's next for you? What's on the horizon?
Well, I've written a lot of poetry, and I'm putting together a poetry book. It's got humor in it. It's got love. It's got disappointment. And it's got a lot of inspiration from my mother. And I'm wanting to put that together, and I'm also wanting to create a sequel to A Dreamer's Wish, because my grandson is much older now, and I'd like to create something that goes past this age into the next stage.
Barbara, what I love so much is, of course, you're continuing with A Dreamer's Wish, and then also with the sequel that you have, coming up. You're doing it, of course, with the emphasis of thinking about what you just talked about, your grandson, but thinking about family, right? And understanding the importance there. And what I love is that, listen, guys, a lot of times, what we love so much about wisdom itself, right? Wisdom is acquired through age and through experience. But what is great, and really what Barbara is recognizing, is it doesn't always have to be your particular experience that you acquire that wisdom from. Her grandson, of course, is growing and is getting older, but hasn't acquired and hasn't had the same experiences that Barbara has. But she understands that through the narrative, she'll be able to impart that wisdom on him. So he'll be able to learn through her experiences and acquire that wisdom. I think that's such a fantastic message. It doesn't always have to be our experience that we churn towards to acquire that wisdom. There's so much value in our family members, our older family members. Guys, communication is so important. Listen, I'm going to get off of this interview and I'm going to call my grandmother, okay? Barbara, you've inspired me. I need to contact her. I need to have a conversation with that woman, okay? Because this is wonderful, man. It warms my heart. This is absolutely beautiful. Guys, I'm going to say it for you one more time, even though I know I don't have to, but I'm going to reiterate it one last time. Here on the line with Barbara McGargle. We just finished discussing her fantastic book, A Dreamer's Wish. Do yourself a favor. You surely will not be disappointed. Pick up this fantastic book. A wonderful journey for you to take with your children, and an even better gift for for you to get for someone else's. Let's grow, let's develop, let's educate ourselves, and it starts with this fantastic narrative. Barbara, this has been an absolute honor. Thank you once again for being a guest with us today on People of Distinction.
Thank you so much for having me. It was my honor.